Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how a malicious hacker can use a few techniques to force one out of a secure network and into a fake internet connection. So over here we have a small outline. We're going to discuss social engineering, how to create the actual Wi-Fi jammer and block the signal of our target network. And then we're going to go ahead and create a fake access point and talk about some effective and secure countermeasures. So what is social engineering? Social engineering can be defined as the creation of situations to create change or to manipulate social behaviors. You're going to have the malicious user will pretty much intentionally force you out of something to get you to connect elsewhere, so then he can go ahead and monitor your actions. So let's go ahead and get started with phase 1. And we'll go ahead and run airmon. Actually, before we run airmon, we want to check our internet settings. We go ahead and type in iwconfig, and then we'll see that there's no wireless extensions on 8.0. So we're going to go ahead and use WLAN 0 for our monitoring mode, and this is so we can check to see all our devices. Aircrack is a program in Kali Linux used for internet hacking pretty much. So it's all embedded with a bunch of different commands. So if you see airmon or aerodump, it's all in the family of aircrack. So we'll just go ahead and do airmon start 0, and then do aerodump. Okay, so what I'll go ahead and do is I configured WLAN 0, so just connect to mon 0. As you can see in iwconfig, I have mon 0 as well, so I'll go ahead and put that in monitor mode and then run aerodump. And there it is. So I guess we're gonna let this run until I find there it is. Okay, so I just pressed Control C to stop this process, and I found the network. Life is hard. And here you can see a few settings. You can see power, you can see the number of beacons. Now these are WPA2 encryption, authorization. So I'll go ahead and copy this, and I can open up a new leaf pad. Just paste that there, and I guess I'll organize it for you guys. So here we found the BSSID. The ESSID, if you guys have seen that term, is just the name of the network. Oh, and most importantly, you also want to know the channel that it's on. See, normally with Wi-Fi devices, the most common channels are 1, 6, and 11. You can see some guy on channel 9. It's probably like a different broadcast. He's at DirecTV or something. Okay, so here, there's nothing special about putting this here, just for organization. And my device is on channel 1. So we'll just leave that there. Just drop that down. And we can clear this. I'll just close it and open up a new terminal. Alright, so we'll go ahead and run websploit, and here I guess we can go to show options. Okay, show modules. Okay, so show options doesn't work. You can usually type help or show modules. Here's where we'll show you all the different commands that you can use. So we have web modules, Yeah, Websploit is a great tool. You can use it for virtually any kind of attack you want to use, whether it's a network attack or a web-based attack such as this one. Here we go, Wi-Fi jammer. So what you want to do is run the command use Wi-Fi jammer, and then at this point we want to set that information in. So you set BSSID :space, and then you have to right click on the terminal, and there's the MAC address that we copied. Set ESSID life is hard, set channel 1, channel 1. So you already set the parameters for the target, so we can go ahead and close this, and then we want to go ahead and click run. So here you can see arrow dump runs. So it's showing you the BSSID, and this is one of the devices listening in on, that's connected to the device, and the power. Oh, okay. There is one thing we can do, and it would have to be, okay. So it could be because our network card is on monitor mode, that it's not using the capabilities of its physical resources to actually do this attack. So I'm going to go back to terminal and run some kind of commands over here using aircrack. Do airmon now airmon-ng check kill. What it does is anything that's running on this interface will just kill all the processes. So everything such as the remote monitoring, which is what we originally configured to find our MAC address, we're killing all those interfaces. And now we're going to go ahead and just run start WLAN 0. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and go back to Websploit. Let me clear this. Websploit. Okay, so use Wi-Fi jammer, and we're gonna go ahead and, if I close the terminal, we're gonna have to set everything again. Hard. And then run. And let's see if that makes a difference. There we go. Yeah, so when the device was on monitor mode, wow, I just saw the light flicker. See, so now it's sending the authorization. If you check arrow dump, again, these stations, see, we got one device got kicked out, it joined this home network, and as you can see, it's going to continue deauthorizing. So I'm going to try to connect. So I'm trying to connect on my devices, and it's not letting it. If we were to run arrow dump, now as you can see, the power at life is hard is 0, and I'm checking all these devices. They all got booted out of life is hard. No one is connected there. They have all connected to the home network. Okay, so you guys saw the capabilities of a Wi-Fi jammer. Why the malicious attacker would want to force you out of your secure network to force you into connecting to a dummy network so then he can launch other kinds of attacks. So I'm going to show you now how to convert your PC or laptop into an access point. In the fake access point, we're going to do a little bit of scripting, and I'll show you that in just a second. We're going to launch AirCrack again, and we're going to configure some manual routing, and then we'll launch, and then we'll talk about some countermeasures against everything. First things first, you want to open up a terminal, and we'll go to LeafPad, and now we're going to open this file. Well, we're going to create the file, this actual file. LeafPad. Now DNS Mask is already installed in Kali. DNS Mask and Apache are two programs that are already installed. They are installed to help with operations like these, to manually set up networks and configure them. So here in DNS Mask, we're going to type in interface, and this is going to be the interface of our access point when we create it. Now, why am I doing this? We need DNS Mask to edit DNS settings. Now, the DHCP is what actually distributes addresses to devices, which will give them corresponding IPs and make sure that two devices are not given the same one to avoid collisions and any interference. So once again, the DNS mask is needed to edit DNS in DHCP. The DNS itself is needed to translate that domain name into IP addresses. So I guess I'll put 150. You can go all the way up to 255. And then the time. Normally you would want to put 12 hours. So in 12 hours, this line is pretty much leased, and it can freely distribute IP addresses to whatever connects to it. So I'll just put 2 hours since this operation's not going to take long. Okay, so make sure I did all of that correctly. Open file, it's already saved, and I can just close and close. So that's all step one, is to configure DHCP. The next step would be to put your NIC, your network interface card, into monitor mode. So we'll go ahead and do iw-config. Here we have just WLAN 0, clear, and then we go airmon. We run aircrack again. So here we use airmon to put it in monitor mode. That's step 2. Now step 3, I didn't have to clear, but it's just to show you guys. Step 3 is airbase. Now airbase is the command to actually create a air network. -E is the command to create it. Now here I can give it any name. I can name it free Wi-Fi. I can name it life is hard guest, or any target network name along with guest. So anyone who sees that will automatically be attracted to it. They'll think it's a legitimate guest network and they'll sign in. So I'm gonna just put my student number. Oh wow, almost forgot it. And we want to set up the channel. Set up channel 11. I'm on 0. Now you see that root at Kali is not popped up here, so you do not close this. You do not want to close this. You just minimize, and that was step 3. So now the next step would be open up a new terminal, and we're gonna configure the default gateway. So go to ifconfig AT0, and now if you remember in DNS mask, that was the interface. So now here's where we're actually setting it up. We're actually setting up the default gateway. Mask 24 up. Next command would be DNS mask, that script that we ran. Now we're calling it from its location. Okay. And then -d at the end. And there we go. anyone that tries to connect now, you'll see it here. This MAC address is the MAC address of my laptop. These commands pretty much transformed this device into an access point. So this in itself is the router. So then now, the next step, step 5, this last one was step 4. So here we actually go to route, add -net 10.0.0.0. So here's pretty much how we set up the routing. AP tables dash lowercase t, and now NAT, which is network address translation. So this is what pretty much translates all activity in the network and out. So it pretty much translates the information in the internal subnet and allows it to be forwarded through the router and outward towards the internet. And then now we run Apache, which we discussed was already pre-built into, and then you run the command start. Now Apache will say this. At this point I will go ahead and connect. Go ahead and connect one of these devices. Connecting, obtaining IP address. So there it is. This client is unencrypted connection to this device, and it's connected. Now we'll go ahead and run a small little man-in-the-middle attack to just show connection between these devices. What did I do here? Okay, so I'm going to use ettercap. Now ettercap, you can just go over here to applications, internet, and a GUI will pop up, guided user interface, and it's much easier to use the GUI. Since this little process only takes 2 commands, I'm not going to use the GUI, unfortunately. I'm just going to run ettercap, then we go ahead and do ettercap -tqi arp remote. So here --. If you don't know the addresses of your host or your target device, you can just leave it blank. We'll go ahead, since we know them. So there is ettercap. Sorry, I'll close this. Here we can run Apache to ctl stop to stop, or you can, if you yourself just disconnect from the network, it would close down all these processes. You can also close, you see, there's the device. I'll try to connect to it with these other devices as well so you guys can see. Connect, yeah, you see, so these different MAC addresses. So these are the addresses of the devices being connected. They're all connected. So now we have ettercap running. We're gonna go ahead and, so we made sure that the man-in-the-middle attack is established. You have to run ettercap, otherwise this will not work. We're gonna go ahead and do a URL sniffer called URL snarf. Go -h so we can see our options. And then now it's a really lightweight program. There's not much you can do here, just -i, and I'm going to use this interface. You want to put the interface name at0. This is the name of the interface of this connection. So now with one of these devices, I'll go ahead and let's try to connect to the host first. It says it works. This is the default web page for this server, and it just showed up on URL snarf. Let me go ahead and connect one more device so you can see that as well. And here's another one. I don't think this one connected yet. Okay, now it did. And we're gonna go ahead and connect. It works. And now URL snarf should pick that up. So here, as you can see, this was the IP address of one of the devices. That's the address that was leased to it, and it connect to this using the HTTP protocol. Now it's listening on port 80, which is HTTP, which is why this message popped up. And then here's the other IP address. What you could do to overcome that would be in Airbase. You can just manually set the power. And, generally what you would have is an attacker would adjust the power settings so connectivity will be smooth. When you have a man in the middle listening in on a network, it does slow the connection down. That is how a user will know that their network is being compromised. So yeah, in sum, what we did was that we created a Wi-Fi jammer. We did so to force a user out of their network and into a dummy network like the one as shown. Now, some of the risks involved in creating an access point: if you're an attacker, you can create the access point to gather potential victims, but at the same time you're leaving the door open for other adversaries to accept the challenge. So even though you're opening a network, you are leaving yourself open to risk as well, if someone was so inclined to want to exploit the weakness you just created. Now, what I would do differently here in this exercise would have been to show you guys this step first, to actually create the access point, and from there actually manually set the power, the signal strength strong enough for when you implement a jammer, so you can do penetration testing and run some other security diagnostics. That's what I would have done differently. Hey guys, there's one thing I wanted to mention that I was edited out in the video. It is illegal to own a Wi-Fi jammer or to perform any kind of jamming techniques. What you saw in the video was me performing a demonstration of an attack on my own subnet. There's nothing wrong with having your own private networks and doing any kind of security or penetration testing on them, or even launching some kind of attacks for fun, as long as you're not harming anyone else. Well, once again, thank you, and see you again next time.